All right, so as we know, we are in Unit 4, which is our Evidence for Evolution unit. And we so far know the accurate definition of evolution, which is more than just change over time, but it's change over generations. We even saw the idea that if we go far back enough in the organism's lineage, we should be able to see a common ancestor. In fact, if we go all the way back, we should be able to find a common ancestor that links all species on Earth together. We know that a common ancestor is going to be an early type of an organism that two or more other organisms came from. So it's like a branching point, and we'll actually talk about one of these later. Okay. Now, last time we met, we focused on one type of evidence of evolution, and that was fossil records. So if you didn't get a definition of fossils in your notes last time, go ahead and add this one here, okay? So one way to help support evidence is by looking at fossils. And we know fossils are mineralized remains of organisms. And these are going to show us when the organism lived and what their body structure was, okay? So again, most of you, when I asked last week, what is a fossil? You guys told me it's old stuff that died, could be leaves, bones, etc., prints. And so again, they are stuff that's dead, but we get an idea found in sedimentary rock how they lived and what they look like. Okay. So again, if you did not get this in your notes last week, you should be adding that now. Okay. All right. Go faster or go slower. All right, I have one person that needs some more time, so I'm gonna get some water in a second. All right. But we looked at more than just fossils last week. We actually looked at fossil records. And what we're able to do with a fossil record is apply the idea of the law of superposition to the fossil record. We know that the lower layers are older and the upper layers are younger. In fact, on the district benchmark, you guys did excellent on that question, where they asked you which of these fossils is the oldest. In fact, 100% of you got that question correct. You identified the bottom fossil as being the oldest. So good job on that. Now, what we can do now is use that fossil record to support evolution. It's evidence for evolution because now these layers are not only different time periods, but they're also different generations of that organisms. So if we go and from layer to layer, we're looking at actually different generations. And if we see changes in the traits from fossil layer to fossil layer, that is evolution. When you have a change in character traits from generation to generation. Okay. Questions on this? All right, go faster or go slower. I only have one of you chiming in. Are you ready? Go faster or go slower? Okay, so again, we're going to build on this idea of evidence for evolution. And again, there are 4 types. We've already covered fossil record. That one's done. So now we're going to focus on comparative anatomy. So what is anatomy? Well, anatomy is simply the study of structures or parts of an organism. If you decide to become a biology major or go into pre-med or even nursing, you're going to need to take a class called anatomy and physiology. And in this class, you are going to learn all the bones, all the muscles, all the organs of the human body. But now, not only do humans have anatomy, all organisms do. And so in comparative anatomy, comparative simply means to compare. We are going to compare the anatomy of different organisms. Now, if we see similarities between one organism and another, usually different animals we're comparing, then we call those structures homologous structures. Make sure this is in your notes. This is a big deal, okay? So homologous structures are structures, it could be either bone or organ, that are found in different animals, but they have anatomical commonalities, meaning similarities. They're similar bones, similar organs. And what this shows us is that if we have similar bones or organs in these different animals, that somehow they're related to each other. Therefore, they must have a common ancestor. There must be an organism in their lineage, in history, that they both are related to. Okay? So, for instance, this image is showing 6 different animals. We have a turtle, we have a dolphin, we have a human, we have a horse, we have a bat, and we have a chicken. Okay? Now, notice that they have this key here. They use different colors to identify the homologous structures or the structures that are similar to each other. Okay? So they use purple here for the humerus. So I want you to literally touch your arm where your guns are, your big muscles here. Go ahead and squeeze that and relax your muscle and try to feel the bone in there. It's kind of hard to get that bone, but that's your humerus. Now grab your forearm. It's easier to feel your bones here. Turn your wrist back and forth. Do you feel those 2 bones moving? Yeah. Now give me a thumbs up. The bone that's connected to your thumb, that's called your radius. And the bone underneath, that's your ulna. Now I always remember this bone connected to your thumb because when you give me a thumbs up, it's red. So this is your radius. Okay. Now in your wrist, in here, you have a lot of bones in there. And those are called your carpals. And the bones in your hand, you can actually feel them. Some of you can probably see them as well. Those are called your metacarpals. And then your fingers, there's bones in your fingers. And those are called phalanges. Okay. Now, what's cool about this is that not only do humans have those features, but so do turtles, dolphins, horses, bats, chickens. I'm not sure if you ever ate a chicken wing before. If you're a vegetarian, I apologize for my next comment. But when you eat a chicken wing and you're eating the meat between 2 bones, you're actually eating the flesh between the chicken's radius and ulna. Kind of morbid thinking there. But some of us, it's delicious. For some of us, right? But that's what you're eating right there, is their forearm. Kind of gross, okay? So what you're going to, and then the more similarities that these organisms have, notice that the dolphin, it's sort of there, but it's a lot different than the others, right? Same thing with the turtle. Like the turtle has this humongous carpal area. So does the whale versus the other organisms that we see here, but they're similar location, similar function. Therefore, they're homologous structures, okay? What you're going to do today, you're going to compare a rat to an elephant. And you're going to do like this picture did. You're going to choose a different color for each part and color those same parts that you find in the rat, the same color in the elephant. Okay, and you're going to go through this as a group in your breakout rooms. Okay, but before we do that, we are going to take our first break. So make sure you get up, stretch, get a snack, whatever you need to do. And we have 3 minutes. All right, here we go. Dang it. I'm going to start over. Sorry, fourth period. So when you go to your formative, scroll down. You're going to click on the actual number. And then what you're going to do is click show your work. When you do that, the picture is going to expand out really large on your screen. So you're going to get like a big picture. And then if you look to the left of the picture, you have this toolbar over here. Now at the top of the toolbar, so if I go to the very top, then at the top square, I can choose the different colors. Okay. So I'm going to pick a unique color per homologous structure, meaning if I notice a feature that's in the rat and it's in the elephant, I'm going to give it a color. Then if I find another part that they both have in common, I'm going to choose a different color. Okay. I don't want to use the same color for different parts. Each part should have a unique color, but that same color, that unique color should be in both the rat and the elephant if they share it, if it's similar for them, okay? We're not going to worry about parts that they don't have in common, only parts they do have in common, okay? You do not need to use the same color as your partners, so just pick whatever colors, but make sure they're unique per part. So for instance, if I look at the skull of the rat, I notice that the elephant also has a skull. So maybe I'll choose blue for that. Now I had a student last class ask, does it have to be pretty? No, you could go, you can do scribble, but do controlled scribble. Don't go scrabble, okay? So do a controlled scribble. Some students circled it instead in a different color. Some students underlined the actual word in a different color. So do what you feel is best to identify those homologous structures. Again, structures that they have essentially in common. Okay. When you're in your breakout rooms, I want to remind you that you are to have either your camera or your microphone on. You can have both on, that's even better. Okay. Be respectful, be encouraging, and do work as a team. This is not independent work time. This is work with your team time, okay? Use your time effectively. If I have to chase you down and I see that you're falling behind the rest of the class, that's going to hurt your participation points. So do your job, stay on task. You're not going to have the entire class period. However, I am going to give you 25 minutes. You should be able to get the whole thing done. And then we're going to come back and talk about it. Okay? Any questions for me before I send you out? All right, let me pause from recording. So now we are looking at the actual formative, and we're actually on number 9, where we are going to talk about which parts are homologous. So which ones do they actually have in common? The skull was mentioned, the femur was mentioned. Haley.
The radius.
Say it again.
The radius.
Okay, to the radius, I think you said. Yeah. Okay. Dylan.
The ulna.
Ulna. Good. Brandon.
The tibia.
Tibia. Good. Siddharth.
The fibula.
Fibula. Samya.
The humerus.
Humerus. Good. Did we get them all? I think so, right? Vertebrae. The vertebrae was a little confusing because when we look at the rat versus the elephant, oh good, like the student colored, there's actually like 3 parts of the vertebrae. So go ahead and color those 3 parts. Again, the elephant is much more massive than the rat, so it's much larger in the vertebrae. All right. So when we look at the homologous structures, these are structures that they have in common. So definitely the skull, vertebrae, femur, tibia, fibula, ulna, radius, and humerus. Now you should list all of those pieces. I believe it's 8 in total on number 9. So we look at question number 9. Actually, let me hide your names real quick. So if we go to number 9, that's what it's asking for. What homologies are shared by the rat and elephant? Okay, so all of those parts that you colored, that's what they're asking for. All right, then number 10. What if you found a fossil of an extinct organism and you want to determine whether it is related to a rat and the elephant? So volunteers, what features would you look for to see if this extinct fossil that you found is related? Let me lower your hands real quick so I don't accidentally call on somebody. What do you think? Brandon?
Probably 4 legs.
Okay, good. Samya?
I would look for like a similar bone structure, like.
Okay, good. And I'm looking at some of your examples here. A lot of you are saying the similar homologies. Misha?
I would look for anything similar and see if there's actually like anything that what's the term? It's like when they evolve, like any signs of evolution between them.
Okay. So, right, we want to see if they share those same homologies with the rat and the elephant. So like the skull, the tibia, all of those pieces that we colored, those are the same parts we're going to look for in this extinct fossil. Because if they have those same parts, those similar parts, those same homologies, then they are related to both the rat and the elephant somehow. Okay. All right, our final question was, how can patterns be used to identify common ancestry? Now, ideas. I know I don't really like the way STEM Scopes worded this question, but you guys do a good job answering it anyways. So what do you think? How can patterns be used to identify common ancestry? Let me say this better. How can we say, why do we know now that the rat and the elephant have a common ancestor? How do we know, when I showed you earlier, these arm structures, how do we know that these 6 animals share a common ancestor? Daniel, what do you think? How are those patterns?
They have a homology. They look for the homologies between animals, I guess.
Okay, so those homologous structures, right? So again, if we have those similar structures that are in the similar locations, they might even have similar function, we can confidently say that they are related to each other. They might not be brother and sister, but they might be, far off cousins. I don't know if you have like cousins and second cousins, and some of you have like third cousins. Like you're just have so many cousins, you don't know what the heck's going on. But between the rat and the elephant, we can safely say that somehow they're related, some distance in their lineage way back then. There's some organism that they share or that they have in common, that common ancestor. Good. Any questions? All right, then go ahead, if you haven't already, if you're finished, go ahead and hit submit. Go ahead and submit your Go Formative. This was your 10 points of synchronous classwork for the day. If you did not finish, you have until 8 o'clock tonight to finish it. Okay. Any questions for me? I'm going to stop it.